You're watching HuffPost Live. I'm Nancy Red, and this conversation is presented by Johnson & Johnson. I don't think people realize when you think about a service animal, it's impossible to imagine just how much these dogs can do. Can you walk us through some of the things that these dogs can do? Not only are they being rescued, which is the best part, is these are dogs that would not have a home, but they're useful members of the family.
Oh, they are more than just useful members of family. They're useful members of society, and they help bring these veterans back to society. I could rattle off some of the list of things. More importantly, these dogs can wake veterans up from nightmares, and not just nightmares that you have at night, but day nightmares that you have, flashbacks that you have. Our dogs wake them up, and they can also sense panic attacks that are coming in and can stop them from panic attacks. We do perimeter searches, so a lot of the veterans that may be paranoid, the dogs can do perimeter searches with the house, turn the lights on, turn the lights off. And even just something as simple, and I laughed when I heard, Eric talk about Patton saying about throwing a frisbee, or even with Nicole about giving them something to do. It is something to do. I mean, they have, just to have that peacefulness of having that buddy around and that person around like they were used to, their battle buddy, to throw that frisbee. But I also have to correct Eric, because what he did say was that he wanted a dog that did not shed. And I have to tell you, he has the most shedding dog out there.
Stiggy's dogs comes, unfortunately, from a place of tragedy. Talk to us about your nephew.
That's the hardest part for me to really talk apart, but I guess it's the poignant part of the whole thing. My nephew was Benjamin Castiglione, and Doc Stiggy was his call name. That is what his Marines called him. And he served in Iraq, and he also served in Afghanistan, and he was killed in September 3rd, 2009. And that right there was such a pivotal point that changed my world. I wanted everybody to know who he was, what a great guy he was. I mean, he was just one of those, wonderful guys, and I wanted everybody to know about his legacy. And so kind of selfishly, I started Stiggy's Dogs, named after Doc Stiggy, really to make sure everybody knew about who Ben was. And ironically, or not ironically, but the goal and the mission seemed to change, because as I met all of these veterans that came through, it just encompassed so much more. And ultimately, his legacy is still living on, because he is still helping his veterans. And his fellow brothers and sisters. He was a corpsman, which is kind of like an Army medic, but corpsman is the Navy branch, and they're attached to a Marine unit. He was deployed. They can go green side or blue side, which blue side is on a ship and green side is boots on the ground, and he chose that. After his first deployment with his guys, he looked at himself as more of a Marine. He wasn't one of those corpsmen that sat inside. He was every bit on the front lines with his guys. And I guess what can sum it up with him is he did not have to go to that tour in Afghanistan, the one that he was killed on. He asked to go to that because he wanted to make sure that all of his, he was going to keep all of his men alive and they were all going to come home.